Next up, we have Drs. Kent Bramlett and Monique Vincent, co-directors of the Balua Regional Archaeology Project. Kent is an associate director of CNEA and professor of archaeology and history of antiquity in the HMS Richards Divinity School here at La Sierra University. Monique serves as publications manager for CNEA and is assistant professor of history at Walla Walla University in southeastern Washington. Both are alumni of the Motto of Plains Project and have since moved their passion for archaeology southward into the region of ancient Moab. So next up, Dr. Kent Bramlett and Dr. Monique Vincent.
Thank you, Dawn. It's good to join you here to talk about the Balua Regional Archaeological Project. I will be introducing it and the work we do, and then turning it over to Kent Bramlett to talk about some of the results of the work that we do. The Balua Regional Archaeological Project renewed excavations at Balua in 2017. This image that you see here is our team from 2019, which included 51 participants from the United States, Germany, Canada, Switzerland, and Jordan. We have many people and institutions that we thank for the work we do in Jordan. Most importantly, the Department of Antiquities of Jordan, which oversees our work and whose representatives facilitate our work on site and in the community. The Balua Regional Archaeological Project, or BRAP, is sponsored by La Sierra and Friedensau universities and receives consortium support from Walla Walla University. In 2017 and 2019, we received funding from the VersaCare Foundation. And we are always very thankful for the assistance provided by ACOR and Amman. And it's so important to recognize those institutions that make our work possible. Khirbat al-Balu is located on a plateau near the Wadi Mujib, the large canyon you see here just north of the site. In this location, Balua was able to control a major north-south route. Previous work at Balua was carried out by a team from Friedensau University. Their discoveries include these well-preserved Iron Age domestic spaces. Preliminary surveys in 2010 and 2012 established the extent and excellent preservation of the remains at Balua. Most of the architecture is visible at the surface, and different phases of the habitation occupy distinct areas. Here you can see that the Roman and Middle Islamic settlements are to the west of the Iron Age settlement. These different settlements, spanning over 2,000 years, confirm the long-term importance of Balua on these major transport routes. The vast size of the site, nearly 60 acres total, promises potential for many seasons to come. A short but intense season in 2017 worked on 3 areas of the Iron Age settlement, which you see circled here. A regular season in 2019 continued excavation in these 3 areas. So you may be wondering, why do we excavate? Why are we here? Our excavations at Balua are part of a long-term research plan with very specific goals. We aim to study the pottery from our site. This helps us build a good chronology and better understand the people who lived in the area over time. We collect a range of historical, social, and economic data to learn more about that long-term history of such a large and important site. We also include the term regional as part of our project name to indicate our interest in building a picture of the societies and environments that developed across this region over time. Our current excavations focus on these 3 main areas of the Iron Age or Moabite settlement. The Qasr is a monumental multi-period structure located at the highest point of the site. The house is a large domestic structure that just keeps surprising us. The wall excavations focus on one section of the fortifications that divide the central settlement from a later expansion. Before we get to the results of our work in these areas, I want to highlight several specific aspects of our work and the team members who are essential to making our goals happen. A main concern in 2019 was making it easier and safer to walk across our large site without constantly tripping over large rocks. Doug Clark led a team to clear a network of 6-foot wide paths. They cleared nearly a mile of pathways, which you can see here on this slide outlined in gray. Illegal excavation and looting have been a serious problem at Balua, disturbing our work and destroying the archaeological record. Susan Panacho began a systematic survey to document the number and types of looting so that we can track damage over time. She noted a total of 201 looting pits of varying sizes, as you can see on this map. Adam Schneider began a project studying the ancient environment to understand how it has changed over time and how this change has impacted Balua's ancient inhabitants. Jeffrey Hedges-Neeram studies the ancient plant remains from our excavations, and he discovered last season barley, wheat, lentils, chickpeas, and common peas. The Iron Age settlement covers approximately 33 acres, outlined here in red. A casemate wall surrounds the original older settlement, the western half of what you see here. We have found one entrance to the settlement so far, leading down into the wadi. The white arrow points to that entrance. Later in the Iron Age, the inhabitants added an extension to their settlement, building a new section of the wall to enclose the area that you see here to the east. The settlement is made up of densely clustered, multi-phase domestic structures in the older part of the settlement and less dense single-phase structures in the eastern extension. Our work so far has focused on the older settlement, which my colleague will now discuss.
The excellent preservation of the architecture of these domestic structures is represented by multiple lintels, so the tops of doors sticking up above the ground. We've done probes at different places, and we chose to investigate one of these structures in more detail. So following an initial investigation in 2012 and then working further in 2017, we have expanded by quite a few areas this one particular structure. It was buried under about 2 meters of debris, although the tops of the walls were still showing above the surface of the ground, and represents, we now know, 2 phases of occupation. The first was founded just above the bedrock, or on the bedrock, and we've only reached that in one place. This last season, in 2019, we were able to further expose more of the phase 2, that is the later phase level of occupation, and to explore what some of the rooms were used for in different places of the structure. The 3 doors that you can see here are highly unusual. All 3 have the lintels across the top. And you can see we have work to do in the next season. 2 of the doors are still blocked up. We haven't begun to finish the work of excavating the site or this house. On the floors, we found evidences of various domestic activities, groundstone artifacts, fragments, some metals, but only very fragmentary pieces, bones, and very interestingly, some in situ, that is, they were in their original position, large storage jars, crushed, but still where they had been placed. The courtyard you are looking at here, and you can see the main door there, the left-hand side going into some of the domestic rooms. This courtyard, we think, would also have led to some additional rooms. You can see the doorway on the right-hand side, but it was later used in the Hellenistic, the Greek period, and not much from the original Iron Age time period was left in position. We, next slide here, we have produced this photogrammetric plan of the structure. And if you want to see a fly-through of this, come back in the later part of the presentations when I'm talking about the technology. But this allows us to look dynamically at different directions throughout the whole structure as we have uncovered it. The second area that we investigated in some detail is the area we call the wall. This area is directed by Betty Adams as assistant to, and Don Acevedo, the area supervisor. It consists, next photo, it consists of a complex layering of developments. The earliest is the dark reddish brown there on the right hand. This was originally probably the perimeter wall around the city. At a second stage, the wall was widened with the addition of a second parallel wall. That would be the red area to the left, so that you have two parallel walls divided into rooms called the casemate wall system. Also in red, further to the left, inside the city at some point, a domestic structure was built up against the inside of the city wall. Later, and that was probably what we would call the Iron 2B. Later, near the end of the Iron Age, the orange subdividing wall was added, and this then we'll come to in just a minute, produced most of the domestic remains that we have. The final phase in yellow on top is a series of towers built over the ruins of the earlier fortification and obscures much of the original layers that we hope to explore. Next. Okay, so that latest phase that I referred to having a lot of domestic remains in it, included groundstone artifacts, weights, and particularly a set of 45 loom weights. These are made from clay, and you can see across the bottom of the screen here. They are being conserved as an MA thesis project by one of our students, Jamie Bennett. The casemate rooms went out of use without obvious burning or other destruction, so we can't link that necessarily to the destruction of the entire site, but we hope to continue our work here. The third area, and one which has probably produced many of the inquiries about the site by people visiting, has to do with the date of the Khosr, that large structure at the top of the site. We think we are approaching an answer to the date of its construction. Historically, visitors, travelers, archaeologists have assigned it a whole range of dates from the end of the Bronze Age down through even into the Hellenistic period. Excavations the last couple of seasons, 2017, 2019, were led by Craig Tyson and team. And here is the example of our progress in one area on the northern side of the structure, revealing really a complex layering of occupations. We are not able to excavate the interior due to the massive tonnage of tumbled rocks. But on the outside here, we have gotten down to bedrock. Right-hand picture, you can see layering of clay and packed earth over the bedrock. And very interestingly, the foundation of this Khosr, the large structure, runs over a grinding stone. You can see this mortar with a hole in it. So there was some sort of domestic occupation in this area that we can't say much about. But the dating of that, of course, would indicate when or after which, the point after which the Khosr was built, probably in the very earliest part of the Iron II, late Iron I, early Iron II. After the Khosr was built then, and maybe about the same time, we can't yet sequence this next structure because there's just a very small space where the two run up together, and there was a lot of animal burrows that disrupted the connections. But a house was built here with a cobblestone flooring and packed earth and pillar bases. You can see the pillar bases there on the bottom left, as well as a Pataikos figurine dating to the Iron IIA period. A third and final phase is a second house just to the north of the outer wall of the first house, so after its destruction. And we have then some in situ vessels. Here is a large storage yard that we found, very similar, by the way, to and probably part of the same storage room that was excavated by John Crowfoot in the early 1930s when he tried to date the Khosr. This storage jar is being put together at Acor by Naif Zaban and will be returned then to the Archaeological Museum in Karak, where the finds from Balua are permanently housed. And we hope some will be on display for visitors. We would just say that we are planning a season in 2021, this coming summer, assuming that people can get vaccinated and that we can put on the project safely. And also take a look at the top left of the screen. That is our brap, Balua Archaeological Project symbol. This is the Balua stele, which Crowfoot mentioned in his early 1930s publication as a rude stone slab. Well, it may not be highly refined, but it is quite significant to us. And we hope to find further inscriptions and artistic cultural artifacts in the area of the Costa that will help us interpret its function in the reconstruction that we hope to produce of that region in the Bronze and Iron Ages.
Thank you, Dr. Bramlett and Dr. Vincent. We do have one question that was wondering about the biblical significance of the site of Khirbat al-Balu. Could you expound?
Sure. We do not know the Iron Age or biblical period name for the site. However, seeing where it is situated, and it appears to control the trade route through Moab from the northern side, according to the Iron Age road system of the time, the Romans later moved the road system a little bit further west. It appears that this was or the major city on the Moab Plateau for at least the central period of the Iron Age. This could mean that it was the capital of the Moabite kingdom, at least at some times in the history of Moab. We know Mesha, the Mesha stele was found on the northern side of the dividing canyon in the site at the city of Dibon, but very possibly Balua was the capital of the Moabites.
All right, we've got another one here that says, are there significant material cultural differences between Iron Age Balua and the Iron Age strata at Umeri?
There are some differences, nuances, I would say. As the polities, the political entities that we call the Kingdom of Ammon, the Kingdom of Moab developed, particularly in the 9th, 8th, and 7th centuries BC, regional differences did develop and probably help distinguish, one identity from another. One of the material cultural differences is the cooking pots that we typically find in the region of Moab. They have a different shape than those that we find at Umeri within the Ammonite sphere. So yes, I would say there are some differences. Linguistically, there are dialectical differences that are beginning to emerge as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Bramlett and Dr. Vincent, again, for talking to us about Khirbat al-Balu.